Hi, this is Trev and welcome to my blog. Welcome to another exciting episode of tips and tricks. What we've got for you this time round is a captive nut repair. What's the best way of describing it? You got a nice flush panel, you got a captive threaded part underneath, and it breaks free and twists round, and the only way to get it out is to wreck the door. And I'm going to show you how to seamlessly and professionally repair it. Hope you enjoy it. So this is the dilemma. The door is boxed off on the inside and there's no direct route to the outer door skin. This captive nut is broken out of this door, and I've managed to get it out by stretching the metal around the hole, drag the thread back through, and then tap the door back down so that it's more or less flat again. So I need to be able to weld this back into the door, and the best way I can come up with, I don't know whether this is going to work or not, but I'm going to give it a go, is I'm going to turn this up the other way so it's nice flat clean surface again, because the old piece of door that's still left on the captive part, I could grind that off and clean it up, but I think it's a bit unnecessary really, as the threaded bolt will just still wind straight through. So I'm going to clean this side up. I've got a nice sized washer. I'm going to bolt that to that washer and then put a good few MIG welds around it. I was going to spot weld it, but I don't want it breaking free, and I don't know whether a spot weld will be strong enough. So I'm going to MIG weld that to that, and then with a cone drill I'm going to drill the old hole out bigger and then turn it up the other way and weld that back into the door all the way around to make the nicest repair possible. Let's see how it turns out. So I've made my hole in the panel, and what I did is I drew some crosshairs on before I started to drill a hole to make sure that the hole ends up central to where it was before, because if this hole was misshapen to start with, then it would be very easy to veer off at an angle, and I've ended up with the washer fitting absolutely spot on. So that fits in there real nice, and what I used was this very shallow cone drill that I paid a whole £1 for off Wish, and it's nice because it's very shallow. Often cone drills are very long, and what you end up then is in a situation where if you're drilling into a box section, a sill or a door or something, you're drilling through, you'll get into the hole size that you want, and then the sharp end of the drill is then bottoming out into the inner panel and drilling a second hole in your inner sill or your outer door skin or something, which is of course the last thing you want to happen. So there's a very good chance that you're going to end up with a lot of distortion around this area if the captive nut's been ripped out. I just ripped it out myself actually, or if something's been clattering around for a long time, then it's going to be very distorted around this area. A little tip I can show you just to get this area nice and flat is to use a bolt with a fixed washer on it like this, and you can use this as a dolly. You simply pass it through the hole, hold it to one side, and then you can tap it round with a panel hammer. Tap it round with any hammer really, I suppose. So yeah, you could just use a panel hammer around it. Now what can happen when you're doing this is your hand gets in the way of the hammer, and I made up a little hammer a few years ago. I converted an old cheapo panel hammer and I welded this funny end on it, and I welded it like that to do door skins with a very sharp angled lip. Say the skin was coming back on itself, so it was a real sharp angle. When you're tapping the door skin on and a traditional panel hammer, you can't get enough angle on the hammer, because the hammer, this part of the hammer is hitting the inner part of the door, putting loads of dents in the door. I made this hammer up so that It goes along like that, and it misses the inner door frame, and you can put something with quite a sharp angle along there and still planish the edge over, getting a nice smooth edge rather than lots and lots of hammer marks. So, and you can use it for squaring up things like this, because you can put it in there like that, and then the hammer will go in there and your hand is miles away from the dolly side. The other thing you could use is an old-fashioned lock repair tool like this. So 2 dies with a nice hefty bolt and nice flat surface, so you could pass that up into the inside of the door, so that would be the other side of the hole, sat inside the door like that, and then you can wind this down on the top. This has also got a flat surface, and you crank that up with an air gun and you got loads and loads of pressure then on the 2 dies, flattening out the skin in between. That's what this tool's been made for, and it's also been made to repair old door locks. It's got a nice recessed piece. You just flip it over the other way and then it will repair a recessed lock, or even press a recess into a flat panel. And that was a bit of kit I probably bought 20-25 years ago, and I've used it hundreds of times. So let's get this, I'll get this washer welded to the captive section, and then we'll get it back in the door. Got our captive threaded part welded to the washer well, MIG welded to it, and also got the thread quite well centralised to the hole. This is another issue you could run into doing something like this. The thread isn't bang in the centre of the hole, and then you weld it up, you weld something captive in, and then the thread's slightly off centre, and then the bolt then catches the very corner of the hole that the bolt's going to go down, because it's actually catching the washer part. It's no real great advice to get this centralised, to be quite honest with you. What I have done in the past is, if it is off centre and the thread is catching the washer part, or if you just got a piece of steel, the hole you've just drilled in it, and then you weld a nut from behind and it's slightly off centre and it's catching the threaded part of the bolt as you wind it in, what you can do is, with a little belt sander, you can just nibble away at the washer part, and that'll free it up then no end. So that's all ready to be welded into the hole, so I'm going to weld that in there now. The welding's been finished, and I've just dressed it up nicely to create a nice invisible repair, all ready for the fitting to go back in. Please go back in. There we go. Just screw that in there. Nice coat of paint on that. No filler needed or anything. And yeah, it's nice and strong because I've cut all that fatigued metal out that was around the hole originally, where it's been moved backwards and forwards a million times, so that's been cut out, and that washer's a little bit thicker than the original steel as well, so it'll happy days. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and next time round I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on, it's going to sound a bit boring, hammering dents by bashing the creases in. This is kind of a request from the Gentleman's Motor Racing team, and about hammer techniques. I'm going to show you a real good thoughtful technique, so bear with it, it's not as boring as it sounds. A good technique for hammering in creases to pop dents out. Okay, I'll see you next time round. Bye for now.
Sitting here watching while you left me all window.